Okay.
Okay, so I think let's begin. Any problems that you have, I think we'll just try to figure it out. And even Rath, I think you have finished and you have submitted your composition. It looks pretty good. But even I think if you had any problems or issues there, we can discuss that as well. So yeah, Carlos, let's take us through what you're trying to post, and let's see what issue you're having.
Okay. I will share my screen. Wait. Okay. Well, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
First, I created the EHR.
Okay.
And the template.
Okay.
And this two exercises was okay, no problem.
Okay.
And for the composition, I created an example canonical JSON.
All right.
With the template ID that I was.
Okay. Just can you do that again? Let's just see what example it's generating right now.
Okay. Just change the. Wait a minute.
Okay. So meanwhile, Kritika, if especially I think a few of the other students also had some issues, Shiva and the others especially, just maybe call them and remind them about the session if they also can come in.
Yes, I sent an email to Kritika. I used this template ID that was the template that I had submitted.
Looks good.
And for the canonical JSON.
Okay. You're trying to get a canonical JSON. Okay, fine.
Yes, and then I copied this canonical JSON.
Okay.
And then I have to change the values for things that make sense. But when I copied this, and then I copied to this part of commit composition flat JSON.
Yes.
And with the EHR ID that I created, and the template ID that's created.
Yes.
The EHR template is this.
Got it.
EHR ID is this. Yeah. But always that when I have this error message of bad request.
Got it.
Always in the
Got it, Carlos. So I think firstly, you try to create a canonical JSON and you're trying to post it in the flat API. So if
sorry, no, okay, yeah. That's canon. Maybe is this okay? Yes, I got it.
Yeah. So yeah, get the canonical and post it in the canonical JSON API.
Yeah, it's much simpler than I was thinking. It's
okay. Let's try this. There you go. That's success. Just go to the body, click on body. Yeah, let's paste in. So again, you made sure your EHR ID and template ID is correct, right?
No, wait request.
Okay. Okay, it's something about the glass Kokoma scale. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Attribute 0 has occurrences physical. Got it. Okay, I think I know what's happening. It's not that difficult to fix, but I think we'll try to figure out systematically how you would approach a problem like this. So for the course, we've been using the flat format mostly. So I think it will be easier to start with the flat format and try going from there.
Okay.
Hey, Deepak.
Let's try the platform.
So yeah, so just generate an example flat format first, and we'll try to get, yeah, that looks fine. Yeah, again, it's going to error out in the Glasgow comma scale. Okay, so what it is telling right now is that it's telling you that Glasgow comma scale expects something that must be of value 1 to 1, but it has only 0 right now. So technically, the example generator is supposed to have generated that, but there are some bugs here and there that it doesn't fully properly generate all the data points, especially for these edge cases. Like Glasgow comma scale is one edge case like that, where it has something called a null flavor. Okay, so that is when you are posting without any data there, you need to put in a null flavor. So I want to actually see how you model the template first, and then we'll also come to the null flavor after that. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to see now?
Yeah. I think we'll see the template right now. And in the meanwhile, so Deepak and Shivaraman, I think you've both just finished designing your templates, and you are yet to submit your more advanced templating exercises. So any issues with templating, any issues with creating your templates, Deepak and Shivaraman?
Yeah. Deepak, you want to go first, or shall I? You, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Sid, basically, you want me to share the screen, and probably I can help.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm just gonna make you all a co-host so you can share your screens. I'm just gonna wait. Can you share your screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says disabled.
No, try now.
Yeah. Let me know if my screen is viewable to everyone.
Yep.
Okay. So let me go to my archetype designer.
So again, in the meantime, I think Carlos, you also keep your template ready. We'll just have a look at the template once, then go to the composition.
Okay, I can show after.
Okay, I think, yeah, we'll just finish Shivaraman's doubts. Yeah.
Can I?
Same goes for Deepak also. If you have any questions, make sure to keep your templates open. Be ready with them so we can quickly switch.
Okay. Can I share my screen?
I will make you a co-host too. I think we'll finish Shivaram, then we'll go back to Carlos for a while and try to figure out the composition issue. Then we'll come back.
Yeah. So here is my template, which I was trying to complete. Sorry, my PC is a bit slow. Taking a while.
Dr. Siddharth?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Deepak. Actually, I don't have any doubt regarding template creation. I have only one doubt. Can we means create UI using the multiple templates?
Can you create a UI using multiple templates? Yeah, that's a very good question. So in essence, yes, there is nothing stopping you from creating a UI using multiple templates. Your UI, there should be logic to post both of these templates individually. There is nothing stopping you from making a UI with multiple templates. It's done all the time.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yes.
I can open the template also. Oh, yeah. So I was a bit struggling here to bring this particular data points. Basically, these data points under cardiac arrest section.
Okay.
Later, I did get in touch with Kritika, and I was able to figure out few of them. One is the symptom and sign, in which I was able to give the description of the complaints, presenting complaints, and later I was also able to get the story and history to provide the details, to provide the history of presenting illness. But after what I'm a bit unsure is, it's not specific to this particular data points only. Okay, first I'll ask I'll give ask on this one. So how will I be? What I'm bit struggling here is, I understand there is no exact, there will not be any exact data points as such, like vitals in all the cases, where we will have to sometimes tweak and get our own archetypes to bring into the template. But even that process, right, it is, I'm not able to organize myself how to make sure, or how to at least get close to the the exact archetypes, which is more relevant to the template that is asked for. So that's where I'm.
Got it.
Yeah, so I was just breaking my head whether this. I mean, I spent a lot of time, but I was still not very much certain about whether my archetype is relatively good to match the expected template. Yeah.
Right. So again, Shiva, don't try to, you will not get it right the first time. Okay, this comes with a lot of iteration, and it comes with experience, exactly what the right archetypes to use are, and so on. So as you make more and more, and as you go through the cycle of making this, and you have a governing body, for example, in your organization, and you know what kind of archetypes you use for which, then it will make it much easier to pick the right archetypes. For now, I would say the obvious ones like vitals, signs and symptoms, the HOPI, if you get those right, I would say that itself is good. That's good enough. So for cardiac arrest, I know we had this discussion last time with Dr. Rath as well. So for cardiac arrest, what have you done right now? Let's just see the procedure right now. I mean, what did you do for cardiac arrest? How have you modeled it?
I basically just pulled out one examination of heart.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that, I was a bit, I myself folded back to just check whether if I'm going in the right direction or not. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the examination of heart, it's not exactly, yes, it's kind of correct, but at the same time, we want to represent this within the fact that we are doing a CPR. Okay. So we are doing a procedure, and we are doing that. So I think Dr. Rath, again, last time we had this discussion, I'll probably put up all the videos we recorded on YouTube or somewhere, so you can reference that as well. It was very well modeled using, so if I'm not wrong, first a service request, which was a procedure, right? Then you can put, there is a slot under that. There is a slot under which you can put procedure details, right? So you have a separate archetype called procedure. Okay, so you can put a procedure, and under the procedure details, you can represent all of these other things, like in things like time of arrest, time of invitation of CPR. So that's very specific to the hospital, right? The time of invitation of the CPR team, that's something that's very, very specific to the hospital. We may not have an international agreement on something like that. So this is a very good place where you can bring in another archetype to represent these details. But at the same time, we want to make sure we are all on the same page on this is cardiac arrest. So you are doing CPR for that cardiac arrest. So you want to make sure that you represent the fact that CPR is done. So that is a procedure. So you would need to represent that CPR at least as a procedure. But after that, you can represent all of these other details under the procedure details.
Yeah.
Okay. So to give you more examples, I think I will also, Dr. Rath, if you could, if I may, I'll share your attempt at this file set to other people as well. So that was a pretty good, example at how to model this.
Okay. Oh, sure. No problem. Thank you.
And one more query, Doctor.
Yeah.
So while I go ahead to create this template with the archetypes, right? I mean, I understand in one go we'll not get it exactly right, but I just need to understand also the type of each elements, like field type. Okay, I understand there are clusters. There are within the hierarchy basically, and how the hierarchy works and what all it accepts.
Okay.
It kind of the video is very much helpful. If there is any rough or very guide, if something is available, not all the time we need to bother. I mean, I can just go through it and any material.
Okay. So what you're asking is like, how do I begin? If I don't know anything about the archetypes, how do I know what is out there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, again, that's a very, very valid problem that we need to address. And the idea last time in the previous session was FHIR has something on their page saying for which all different things, which all resources to use. There is nothing like that for openEHR yet. But it's something. So number one resource I would say is the clinical knowledge manager. As of today, you go to the clinical knowledge manager and you try the search functionality. You try to look through the archetypes that are there. It's an exhaustible list, especially if you see the V1, V2, V3 archetypes, which are like the more mature ones. They are exhaustible. There are only a couple of, there are only like 20, 30 different archetypes that you use 80 to 90% of the time. So you need to be aware that these archetypes exist, and you need to know how they are used with other archetypes. So sometimes you may want to slot in another one inside this and use it in different ways, right? So all of that documentation is present in the CKM, usually under the description, the use, the misuse, the purpose. And I think a very good starting point would be to go to the CKM, see all of the archetypes that have a green check mark next to it. Yeah. So that would give you, and just seeing things that interest you, looking at the green check marks and seeing the things that interest you, that would give you a good starting point on, okay, this is what's available and I can start using it. So I think, does that answer your question?
It helps a lot. So probably I would be sending out this template, the version what I've done.
Yes, definitely. It's okay to get it wrong. It's fine. That's the review process is there. It's okay to get it wrong. I think it's more important that you move on to the next module and try out compositions. Even if you get this wrong, it's fine. It's okay. Right?
Because at the moment I kind of riding two sides. Like I will have to learn the designing of archetypes at the same time. I'm also getting the sense of the clinical things. So it takes a while for me to digest it and then bring it up.
The templating, creating openEHR templates is a practice of distilling down domain knowledge, right? Clinical domain knowledge itself is difficult and it's hard to master, right? So not everyone can do it immediately. So this is a lifetime experience. Like it takes a lot of practice to get this perfectly right, especially the templates. But I just want you to get to a level where you are technically sound in creating a template. Right. After that, you just want to create compositions and learn how to query them. That should be fine. Do not, you do not need to worry on getting this perfect, because I make mistakes all the time in creating templates. Then an expert will come and correct me. So it's not going to be perfect, but
yeah, okay.
things that work is okay.
Yeah, I'll be sharing this. And right now I'm in the mid of, I have installed Insomnia, and I'm just giving a try on creating openEHR in that module. I'm in that module. Probably I would be completing it by today. And I'll also be doing the other assignment in that module. So yeah, I will be able to complete it, and probably I'll check the AQL tomorrow.
Got it. Perfect. So I think we'll go to Carlos then. So yeah, did you use Glasgow Comma Scale? You didn't, right?
Yes, the question is, am I used the Glasgow Coma Scale, right?
Yeah, did you use Glasgow Coma Scale in your composition? I think not.
Let me check for it. I forget it.
I think the composition that you posted didn't have Glasgow Coma Scale. I think, okay, so we'll just check. So Carlos, yeah. So Shiva, I think if you stop sharing your screen, we'll have Carlos take over.
Yeah, I stopped it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Then I have five sections.
Yeah.
And the Glasgow scale is in the physical examination.
Yeah. Okay.
Just select the best eye response, the verbal, motor response, and total score. And the occurrence was 1-to-1. I didn't. It's the standard occurrence.
Yes, so they're telling it's mandatory, but they also have okay. So this null flavor was introduced in openEHR as part of so if you go to the details, right? If you go to the details of this archetype, best eye response to stimulus, and you come down to the comment, probably they have documented it here. Just check the comment.
Sorry, can you repeat?
The comment, just like scroll down a little, you can see a little bit more in the comment. Scroll down. Yeah, just scroll down on the most commonly. So okay, so what they've done is they've made this mandatory. Okay, they've made this 1-1, but they also have something called a null flavor, which you can record in place of the actual data point if you cannot record the data. Okay. So they've done this, and in the openEHR community, they're kind of thinking about moving away from this type of modeling because it creates issues with these kind of servers. Okay, so the idea is that you need to record something in E, V, and M, but if you don't record it, then you need to put in that null flavor. Okay, so the idea is, again, like E, V, and M. It's what M6. V5 I'm not sure anymore, but I know there are some numbers that you put and they are all ordinals. So now so if you don't record this, then only then are you expected to record a null flavor, okay, in place of this particular value. So we will take a look at null flavors and we'll take a look at how to record them, but we'll look at your composition in more detail now. Like, let's take a look at your example composition that you're trying to post.
I think I have a value for the.
I think you're sharing the window.
Yes, just a minute.
At the same time, I'm going to open the EHR base documentation for flat. So they have a really, really good comprehensive documentation.
composition.
Yeah. So, okay. 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 Let's just go one by one. Okay. So what is happening is you're responding with best I response, ordinal value 1. Okay. Best verbal response, ordinal value none.
Well,
And
yeah. Well. And this is 9, but it actually would be 3.
yes, I think that is going to be 3. Okay. So here, are we sure that it's recording the correct values? Like the values are fine, right? It is actually none, right, for ordinal 1.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's try posting this again.
I don't know what I have. The same.
Okay. Oh, they are okay. They have recorded multiple events.
I think I have 3 events.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Let's remove the remaining 2. We'll just go with 1 event for this one. Let's just remove all the extra unnecessary events. So just select those lines. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. At the same time, I think you can get rid of math function. Okay, it's still, so what it's telling you is it's telling you that null flavor attribute has 0 occurrences, must be 1 to 1. Okay, let's just give me a second. I think items 80008, if I'm not wrong, that is one of the elements. Are we missing any element? We have the verbal, we have the okay, we have all of this. Let's just try once to remove Glasgow comma scale altogether and try to post it and see if it works. And because I know that there is some issue with the Glasgow comma scale that happens, and we'll just see if removing all of the Glasgow comma, no, all of it, including the context elements.
all the
Everything to do with the Glasgow comma scale. We'll just try to remove. Yeah. Let's try posting this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Glasgow comma scale is a null element. Just give me a second. I'm again. What I'm doing is I'm just searching the discourse, openEHR discourse. So I think you can do that as well. So I know that null flavor, when recording it with some other elements, have so technically it's not supposed to. It's going to be okay if you record it with, if you have the data point there, it should be okay. But for some reason, it's telling you that something is missing. But you have all the data points, right? If I'm not wrong. Let's just check null flavor. So, okay, I think let's bring back the Glasgow comma scale and let's try one by one and try to see if we can post it. So
try to post
okay, null flavor. Okay, so just give me a second. I'm checking this as well. So I think I had run into the exact same problem some time ago, and I posted this on Discourse as well. I'm just posting this in the chat for everyone. So okay, we have, I think let's do this. Let's try to remove all of the other unnecessary fields from Glasgow comma scale. Like we'll just keep it with EVM and total score and not have any of the other extra things like workflow and all that. Those are all like meta events that you can send, but they are not mandatory. You don't need to necessarily send all of that. You do need, I think, width. Why are you sending width? Okay, fine. You do need some of the context elements, but is this an interval event? Is it showed width and those things as well? Let's try posting this.
Okay.
Yeah, you do need some of the context elements like language and time and so on. But I'll just tell you which elements are not needed, and we'll just remove those. Just Control Z and try to get back maybe.
Where is this element?
I think just try Control Z. I think you just backspace, right? Like we'll try to, yeah. Yeah, so let's go and start removing all the guideline ID, all the workflow ID stuff. Those are not mandatory. UID is also not mandatory. Encoding is mandatory. Encoding and all of those things are mandatory. Yeah, just remove these. Yeah, I think just go up a little. Yeah, that UID math function with not mandatory. Unless you made the Glasgow Coma scale an interval event. Just go back to your template and check once.
My template?
Yeah, just show me your other screen, the template. Okay, fine. For now, I think like you can get rid of with math function UID, all of that. Try to get rid of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But the problem is this new flavor. If I change the cardinality to 0 to 1 and exclude the.
No, the thing is, it's expecting you to put a null flavor even though we are putting in the data. I think this is a bug with EHR base. We will file a bug report along with this. But I think for now, what you can do is you see that there are only 3 errors in the error, there are actually 3 errors. One is it's telling you that null flavor attribute has 0 occurrences for that particular path. You see that AQL path 80009. Then it has the same exact error for 80007, and it has the same exact error for 80008. So I just want to go back to the template and see if E, V, and M are these 80 codes, especially 007, 8, and 9. If they are, then we'll just include the null flavor along with the data that we are sending.
Nine, 7, 8. Yes.
Yeah, it's 7. Okay, so we are correct in that this is the Glasgow. Again, what archetype is this? This is Glasgow Coma Scale version 1.
Yes.
If I'm not wrong, did they revamp this again? Is there a version 2 right now? Because there was some issue with the version 1 archetype and they had to revamp it to version 2. Let me just check the CKM real quick.
Just
Okay. No, right now it's still in version 1. Okay. But it seems like it does have more attributes than it is currently seen on your screen. Like it has total score, EVM profile, comment, and so on, but doesn't seem to be showing up on. Okay. You just commented them out. Okay. All right. Fine. Let's do this. Let's try a null flavor for all of these 3. So the link that how do you know which is mandatory, like encoding? Yeah, Rath. So that's a good question. So most of the time, if you look at the RM attributes on the side, can you just click on RM attributes? So here it includes all of the different context elements and all of the, in this case, right? Null flavor, null reason, and null value. It's asking for these things also. And that's actually why we are getting this error. But along with that, if you see the other elements, right? If you look at These are all archetype name and all of these things. This is specific for this particular ordinal value. But if you click on Glasgow comma scale itself, it will again give you a list of different entries, like see, for example, language, encoding, subject, provider, and so on. So that is one way in which you can figure it out. The other way is going to the EHR basis flat page. So I'm going to link that as well right now. So they have a very, very good documentation on what is mandatory, what needs to be there for each of the different RM types. And that way you can easily know what is what. So Carlos, I think in this case, let's try, just open the link that I sent you on Discourse. So we'll try putting in _ null flavor / code for all of the 3 E, V, and M values and see if that works. So the yeah. So again, I had the exact same problem with Glasgow comma scale. So the null flavor, we are supposed to include it along with the Glasgow comma scale ordinals. So this is, so let's, I think what you can do is just put right after your Glasgow comma scale M value, for example, you just put a / null flavor and then code and just put like 271 and just put like no information, for example, see if that works. But at the same time, I think this is also a bug with the EHR base. We'll file that as a bug. Yeah, just go down. I think the answer is given by Ian. Yeah, so something like this. So best motor response M and then / a null flavor and then the code, for example.
This one.
Yes. So including that for all of the different E, V, and M values might work. But I will also take another look and I'll probably get back with more details and whether it's a issue with EHR base or something that we could have done ourselves and it's the expected behavior. Okay. So I think, Carlos, for now, you submit your assignment without the Glasgow comma scale. And that composition, let there not be the Glasgow comma scale, and that should be fine. But I'll figure it out what's actually going wrong, why it's not accepting without null flavor. But I'll do my homework there and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, but this is one potential solution. You do try this out. Let me know if it works out. So yeah, I think that's Raja, Shivakumar, that's done. Sarat, any other questions from you? Anything else that you're stuck with?
Yeah, actually, I have. I think I found another bug as well.
Okay, yeah.
So I will share my screen. So here is the flat format.
Right.
And this is the structure format.
Right.
You will see that the power oximetry,
Yes.
the data is exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah, but if I post the flat format,
okay,
here, it will work. But if I post the structure format, it will say bad request.
Could not consume part. FIO non-trauma case record. Okay. So you're sure that it's the same path, right? It's the same exact. Okay.
Same exact data.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. I think, yeah. So EHR base is again one of the first, openEHR clinical data repositories that's mature enough to be used in like properly, and people are working on it. So flat format support came first. So that's been much more worked upon and it's much more mature. Structured, it's still like they're still working on it. So this will definitely be a good bug report to file. So I'll probably actually make another video on how to file a bug report for EHR base. So I think you are discovering a lot of these things, and they do get back on these things and they do take it very seriously. So I think we will file bug reports for these issues, right? What we are posting on flat that's working and it's not working in structured. At the same time, I will also verify if it's not something stupid that we are doing on our side, and just make sure that, yeah, this is a bug. But I think you should be able to just file a bug with this particular thing. As long as, you're just, for example, testing from the example endpoint and you're trying to post and it doesn't post, it's a bug. Okay, so both for Carlos and Rath, it's how they advertise it, right? Like example endpoint should work immediately as soon as you get it. So if it's not posting, it is a bug, and we will file an issue with EHR base regarding these 2 bugs. Okay, so just keep your templates ready, keep all of those ready. We'll just post it and we'll create a bug for both of these. Okay,
I see. Thanks. I have another question. I try to create the template for my own work, but I'm not sure. This one. I want to record the medication order and the status of that medication.
yeah.
Should I include it in the same template, or should I separate it into a different template?
Okay, you could include it in the same template, but I want to understand a little bit more about the context in which this is going to be used.
Yeah, I try to create we try to create the medication order system for the hospital to order a medication.
Okay.
And so, yeah, after the order, then I think we have to have some sort of status tracking.
Okay.
What is the, yeah, so I think this one is good.
Okay.
Yeah, but
got it. So the workflow is like the doctor prescribes the order using the same template. They just create an order, and then the nurse uses the same template, takes it back and edits it and just adds a medication management entry there. Is that right? Is that how you want to use it?
I think the order, the nurse, the doctor, the nurse, and then the pharmacy will see the same order, and
okay,
and the status change between them.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, I think putting it in the same template is fine, but it doesn't make that much of a difference even if you were to put it in another template, because I think this is a situation where you want to maybe run a query and find out what this patient, what the current medication orders for the patient are first, and then maybe render a UI that can reflect that first. So you want to know, okay, these are the current orders for the patient, and then you want to have maybe like a checkbox or some sort of interaction there where they can move that medication management from one state to another, right? So I would say it's not wrong putting it in the same template. It's completely fine, especially if there are going to be like n number of medications for this in the same template, and there are going to be the same n number of medication managements. So that makes sense. I think that's fine. So you're going to have medication orders and medication management. Okay. The other thing to think about is that, are you going to edit this exact same composition to keep track of these things?
To be honest, I'm not sure which way is the best to. Let's say that you don't have to think about my template, but if you have to create a prescription system, how will you approach it? How many templates you will create?
Okay, so I've done one where there is a persistent template. Okay, so at any point in time, the patient only has these many medications. Okay, so that is a template with medication orders. Again, here I think you made it 0 to 1, but then the order itself is 0 to many. So if you click on the activities order, so that is probably 0 to many. So you are allowed to record multiple prescriptions in this medication order. Okay, so here you don't need to make it 0 to many. No, because the order which is under medication order / activities, you see that order there, right under that. Yeah, that order, ORDER. Yeah, so that's 0 to many. So you can record multiple prescriptions here. So the way I've done it most of the time is I have a medication, I have a medication order archetype, which has 0 to many, and the doctor goes back to the exact same prescription and edits it in place. So that's the current order that the patient is on. Okay, so this makes sense for inpatient prescribing, for example. This makes sense when you constantly want to come back and keep changing the current orders that you're on. So if you have a patient admitted and you want to like review every morning and you want to change these orders, this makes a lot of sense. Keeping one template in place where you want to then come back and edit it so that it reflects the current state. Okay, medication management happens in a separate template, and they just look at the doctor's orders and they then record that the medication was given in their own template. So the other template can include things like, so the workflow I'm thinking of is like, the doctor comes in the morning, looks at the patient, makes sure that the medication orders are given, right? They make sure that that's the doctor's template, that's the doctor's part. Now the nurse then comes every time, like 3 times a day, checks the patient's vitals. They then make sure that the medication is given. So it makes sense to record the medication management as part of the overall assessment of that patient during that time. So I kept it in a separate template because the workflow was like that. Now I can also give you another example for OPD prescription, how we've done it for OPD specifically. So for OPD, we didn't have the system where the doctor goes back and edits this. So there is one assessment form where you fill out all of these things, and at the end of it, you just have a medication prescription, all of these orders. You just put all of these orders and you finish that template off. You don't come back and edit it, because it makes sense in that context that the patient is there, you're recording a few things, then after you're done, you just send all the orders finally to the patient.
So you use separate let's say that for the OPD you use separate template, right? You use only the template that have the order.
Yeah. In the OPD, we don't care about management, right? We just give the order, and it's up to the patient to really take the order and go out, for example. So it's only the prescription in the OPD. So in IPD, I would say keep one template that has a persistent list of all of the medications that they are on, because at any point in time you want to know without any confusion what drugs is the patient on, what is the current orders given by the doctor. And medication management, on the other hand, is not such a thing. It keeps happening. It happens again and again and again, right? So the order might be, for example, a certain IV drug given every 8 hours, right? That medication management archetype should be recorded every 8 hours. Right.
I think even OPD, sometimes we have to record the status of the order, like let's say that inject some drugs that
right
before.
Absolutely. I think so. In OPD also, in an OPD template, it still makes sense to keep a medication management item and a service request in it, just in case they are doing something like incision and drainage. They just do sometimes. So it makes sense to, like, even injecting an immunization or some simple things, it does happen. So yeah, you can keep a archetype there so they can record it. But for IPD, where you're doing this, I would err towards the side of having one template where you record all of the different medications that the patient is currently on, and another template which is more for the nurse to really come and record, this drug was actually given at this time, this drug was given at this time, and so on. Because the frequency of creating a composition for those templates are very different, right? And it's handled by different people.
So shouldn't we do the same for the OPD and IPD, like 2 templates for different things in OPD as well?
So how do you, why would you want to do that in OPD? See, because OPD, it happens within one encounter. It finishes off within one encounter. The patient comes in, the doctor does something to the patient, including history taking, examination, and administering these drugs as well as prescription, and the patient goes out, right? So you can technically capture all of it in the same go. In IPD, it's like it happens intermittently. The time that these things happen is a little different. So that's the only reason I've done it like this in the places where I've implemented it. But there is no right or wrong answer here. As long as it works, as long as it makes sense, it's just that you need to think about, okay, now my application needs to do this API call. Now my application needs to, do this sort of thing. You need to know what that is going to be, and then design it around that complexity. But at the end of the day, you're still recording, like, the fact that the patient was getting this medication, right? The medication management archetype will still record it. It's just up to you how you want to split it between templates, and whether this is in that and that is in this. That's a decision that it's, you have the freedom to do that.
I see. Let's say that in IPD that we separate it to two templates.
Yeah.
How can we link between these two templates? Like in Fire we have the reference element, right?
Correct.
But in here I don't know how to reference to other.
So in medication management, if you see, there is usually a specific field that goes for so if you see batch ID, all that is fine, route is fine, administration method, patient, order ID. Do you see that order ID? So that identifier is meant to be used against an order. So you are telling that this medication management was actually done against this composition, for example, or against this particular thing. So you can record that in the order ID there.
Oh, I see.
Right. So if you just see the details of this order ID, they'll tell you unique ID for the medication order. So this is meant for the reference to the order.
I see. So this ID element is the way to reference other element in openEHR, right? In let's say other archetype, we also reference this way.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can reference other things in openEHR, but at the same time, you can also reference things that are not in openEHR. So suppose somebody is moving into a new system, their ordering system might be in some other format. They might have another medication e-prescription system. You can still record that as part of the order ID and record the fact that you administered the drug in openEHR and still keep that reference. So that identifier is completely open-ended. You can use any URL, you can use anything there.
I see. Thank you. One last question. In Fire, we have to constrain it, this is 0 to many. We only can make it less than many.
Right.
In Fire, if
Correct.
this is 0 to 1, can we make it 0 to many?
Yes, you can. At the template level, you can change the occurrences into different properties. You can change that.
So is this one is different from Fire, right? You don't have to make it narrow. You can make it broader.
You can make it broader, except there is one exception to this rule, and I think that's what Carlos was asking about. So in Glasgow comma scale, you are not allowed to add your own values inside that Glasgow comma scale. For example, like they've told you that there is EVM and you can only record 0 to 4 for one particular thing, right? You can't add your own value in there, because then that will ruin the meaning of Glasgow comma scale. So you can't add your own values into certain things for which they have told that this is fixed. So while making the archetype, they have fixed the value set there. So you can't change that. But ordinals, I mean, like the cardinality and the number of occurrences is free for all. You can change all of it.
How do I know which one I can add, which one I cannot?
It will tell you in the template. Like if you can, whatever you can do while you're creating a template, that's allowed. And usually there are some actions that won't be allowed. Like for example, adding your own value inside Glasgow comma scale. So those things are kind of like prohibited, and those are the only places where they, for example, let's take let's take something with a given value set, for example, like even in blood pressure, the body site of measurement or something like that. Let's try to see it a specific day of week, maybe. Or yeah, pulse. Yeah, just take the position, for example, the position of measurement, right? So you just try to scroll down here. So in the internal code, right? So here it's telling you that, yeah, you can't do that because it's part of an archetype. You're now inside the domain of the archetype, right? So if you're inside the domain of the archetype, then you need to be constrained by whatever the archetype's thing is. But at the level of the template, you can change it because that's at the domain of the template. Like the archetype doesn't constrain you from doing these things.
I see. Thank you.
So here there is actually a quick tip here. So sometimes some things will be coded using internal codes. If you ever want to break out of it, there is the external coded that you can use. You can just break out of it and use something like Snomed City there. That's still, it's kind of allowed. You can do that for certain things.
Should a yes or no?
Just try yes. If it allows you, let's try that. Yeah, so it does allow you. So you can break out of it and say that it's external text.
I see. Yeah. Understand. Thank you. I don't have any more question.
Got it. Okay. So I think the final, the AQL module is also uploaded. I'm yet to assign the exact tasks for the AQL module because most of you are just finishing and starting the first one. But yeah, compositions, so yeah, Carlos, that composition, just post something that works. And I think we'll get back to that, and we'll also try to file EHR base. Yeah, Carlos, yeah, question. Yes.
Just one more question. I was trying to use Snomed City codes.
Okay.
And for example, this one, I use the archetype of symptom signs. And then I use most power Oxford scale. And I found this Snomed code, but I don't know how to what I have to put here to show that I want to the URI.
Yeah. Got it. So okay. So what you're trying to do now is a query. Okay, so there are two ways in which you can include something like Snomed City. First of all, I technically wouldn't put this as a sign and symptom. For example, the muscle power Oxford scale. I would try to model this as an archetype, but coming to your question, how do you add Snomed City terms, right? So one is using a Snomed City query. So this can be just a URL. So right now you just see terminology : Snomed City. You can include something a little bit more complex there. For example, Snomed City with an expression constraint for a certain condition. So you can include a full URL. So a URI is just you can include a full URL there as well. So that will make sure that the UI understands that, okay, this particular subset needs to be loaded, and it will show that in during data entry. So that can be something like a search component where they just enter data. Now, the other option is local terms. That's what you want. So local terms is where you try to tell in advance that these are the terms that you want. So terminology, again, it's very similar. Just put Snomed City there. And here you can edit a value set.
Okay.
Yeah, you put Snomed City and try to edit the value set.
I have to find the value.
No. Just don't go back to query. So local, again, Snomed City, you can change the terminology later, but just click on edit value set, that blue button. No, that's the default value. So the default value is like what you want it to be by default.
Okay.
Edit. Yeah. So here you can put multiple values. So you can put a code, a text, and the code can be Snomed City, and the text can be the description, however you want.
Okay, thanks.
I wonder about this as well. How let's say I set up a terminology server. How can I link between the I think I have to use the query here, right? But how can I put the URL of the How can I input the ECL here? Or
Yeah. So this is a very interesting question. I think EHR base is currently working on values, validating FHIR value sets in openEHR. Okay, so they're actively working towards bringing in a FHIR terminology server and making sure it's validated. So what you can do is in HL7 FHIR, there is a way to represent a value set. For Snomed city also, they have a value set which says Snomed city, and then you can query and say ECL equal to that particular ECL. So for validation as well as rendering the UI, we can use FHIR value sets there. So it will just be a FHIR URL. So it will be http://FHIR.hl7.org/value set, and then that particular value set. So it's not exactly a URL that you can go to and get that list from, but it's an identifier. It's an identifier that basically tells, okay, this is what I mean, that I want to render Snomed city and I want to render this ECL query. So people are using FHIR here. That's the standard here. There is do not reinvent terminology. And if people are using FHIR mostly even for Snomed city queries, they're using it through a FHIR API. So especially Onto server and all that, they give a pretty good API for Snomed city link, ICD and all. So you can, in that URI section, you can put a FHIR URL, and EHR base right now has the ability to validate and make sure that the data that you're sending is in fact part of that value set.
Should I put that in the template?
Yes,
here in
yes,
the architecture?
yes. You need to put that in the template for it to validate. Yeah.
In which part?
So if you see the part where we used to put terminology : Snomed city.
I can share the screen.
Yeah. So yeah, Sham also has a question.
This one, right?
Yes. So here in the query, right, just edit the query. Yeah. So instead of browsing the terminology, you can go with your own terminology. So here in the name, you are putting, you can put, it doesn't really matter, but usually we just put Snomed-city. But URI is where you can technically put a URL here.
Something like this, right?
Yes, I'm not sure that's a valid URL because you need to put dot something, like just put .com. Just put .com. Save this.
Save this.
That's valid.
Oh, I see.
So people are putting a valid HL7 FHIR value set in this URL.
Ah, okay.
So that way it loads that value set in, and it also uses that for validating.
Oh, so Airbase also validate.
Yes, EHR base has the feature to validate against a FHIR terminology server. It's a very freshly baked feature, but it's there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Sham. Yes.
Hi, Dr.
Hey, yeah.
So I'll just share my screen.
Yes.
I am still in the CKM part, trying to map some of the parameters of our EMR to the openEHR.
Got it. Yeah, sure. So tell me, are you stuck somewhere?
Yeah, I'm stuck. I'm actually, like, for example, in the CKM, I see that from some cases, for example, adverse reaction list, there are number one is that currently for adverse reaction list, there are 2 adverse reaction lists, but I'm just quoting an example where I see a parameter named data linked to the adverse reaction list, and which is again as a subparameter named category, and which is again as a subparameter which says coded text, but nothing else is there inside it. So if you can share the screen, I can easily explain.
Yeah, I've allowed you to share the screen. And I guess it's almost time. It's 8 o'clock. So other people, feel free to drop off. If you want to stay, you can. That's also okay. So yeah, Sham, it's okay. So you want to, right? Yeah. So we are talking about adverse reaction list.
Doctor, I'm dropping off from the call. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah, and I would request you to share the one what Dr. Earth has done for.
Definitely.
Yeah,
for the cardiology part,
yes,
I will do that. Yes.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Bye.
So this is just an example I'm putting. Actually, we have another adverse reaction list which you can make use of.
Okay.
But to just quote an example, I'm showing you something like this. I observed for many of the parameters which I was trying to search, and there was something like similar, very similar.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
And,
yeah, so this is a type of composition. Okay, if you see, you might have gotten this under the type composition. So just hover over the adverse reaction list on top. So you see that it's actually an openEHR composition.adverse reaction list. Okay. So in fact, if you remove that glass from the search, it will tell you exactly. I'll tell you where you found this. So just remove that. So you see that there are different types of EHR archetypes, and this adverse reaction list is a type of composition. What that means is that just like a normal encounter, you have these other different types of compositions that can be used for recording a medication list, for example. So Rath, what you are asking, you can use that type of a composition, for example, medication list or problem list, to record these very specific things that are going to be global for the patient. Like there will only be one adverse reaction list composition for each patient. There will only be one medication list composition for each patient. So you can do that. So the way this is supposed to be used is you use this as a starting point when you're creating your composition. Then you use the actual archetype, which is the medication, which is the adverse reaction risk archetype under this composition.
Okay. So do you mean to say that the actual archetype comes behind this, whatever this
Yes, this is meant to be, this is just a placeholder, just like the other Encounter V1, for example. We've been using Encounter V1 quite a lot for all of these things, right? It's just like Encounter V1, but it is very specific for a medication list, or it's very specific for an adverse reaction list.
But still, I don't understand the purpose. We can directly link it to actual adverse reaction list, right? Why they want to have something like this and then link it to another adverse reaction list or a medication list?
Okay. Understood. So the thing is, you want at some point in time, can you hear me? I see that.
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. Yes.
Did my video freeze? No, it's fine.
Yeah,
okay.
No, it's freeze.
Freezed. Okay, fine. Just forget about that. But so what you want is at some point you want to have the confirmation that this is in fact the final adverse reaction list for the patient. Okay. So the way in which this is usually used is you have templates. Okay. You have templates like OPD visit and IPD visit, where you can record the adverse reaction just if you want. Whenever you want to record it, you can record it. Yeah. If the patient has this adverse reaction. But at the same time, you also want to have these other curated lists. For example, like the definitive list of adverse reactions that the patient has. And it needs to be curated by someone. It needs to be constantly looked after and made sure that it's up to date. And these kind of lists, you want some sort of manual intervention before it goes on that list. Okay. So to come back to your question, what is the real purpose of this? It's just two levels of representing the same data, where one is like, if it's inside an adverse reaction list, for example, it means that it's been verified, it's been validated, and we know for a fact that this is true, it's there. And same goes for medication list. It knows, for a fact that this medication list is for the IPD, for example, for the cardiology IPD, for example. That is the source of truth. That is where you need to look at. At the same time, you can still have these adverse reaction archetypes embedded inside other templates. And that is there. You have recorded that, but it does not have the same magnitude of authority, for example, as an adverse reaction list has. So it's, again, internally up to you at the hospital level and at the administration level. You need to decide which takes precedence. But openEHR is just offering you the opportunity to record this in these ways.
Just because I was wondering, for this case, there is duplicated actual one and the follow-up one. But in few cases, I was getting only something, a single list as such, which is something like this. And the actual archetype which I was looking, I couldn't find. So that's why I was wondering, okay, what was this? Something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, I got the answer from you.
Okay, so you're clear, right? So one is the composition. One is meant to be used as a composition under which you put other things, and the other one is the actual archetype.
Actual archetype.
Yeah.
Correct.
So whenever you see things under composition, you know that that's meant to be used for your template. Okay, you inherit your template from that. Yeah.
Understood. So now my next question is that when the parameters here, some parameters are textual, some parameters are coded text, which means we can use it in drop downs.
Yes.
And there is something like this cluster. So I don't understand what is this cluster actually.
Okay. So cluster is just it's meant to be put as a element which again repeats, or you have other elements inside that cluster. That's it.
It's more like a textual thing, but in a tabular format. Like
No. A cluster in itself does not record anything in it. Like it just has other data types inside it, which records the actual data. So the cluster itself, you cannot record any data in the cluster itself. So if you see that cluster, it's hierarchical, and under that you are recording all of these things, right? So it's just okay. Click on problem details.
I'm not able to click. I'm just able to hover over.
Okay. So okay. That is a slot. What you see there is a slot, and what you're supposed to do is you are supposed to. So see here. So this is where how you use in slots, and so right now you're under family history. Okay. So they have given you this per problem archetype under which you have the problem diagnosis and description. Now for problem details, they're telling that you can include another archetype, which is either openEHR cluster.family prevalence.v1 and specializations. So there is another archetype that you can include inside this archetype. So
this is a place where I can link to another archetype within this archetype.
Yes. So that
so
family. Yeah.
So any cluster here, it means that it's a linkable area. Can I take it in such sense?
If you see that per problem, right? Just hover over per problem. So this is also a cluster. Okay. So there are two types of clusters. One is a type of cluster where you just have sub elements inside it. Okay. It's defined in the archetype itself that there are these sub elements inside it. The other type is a slot, which is actually technically in the openEHR terminology, it's called a cluster, but it is actually a slot, meaning like it is meant, for example, the problem details is a slot which is meant to include another cluster inside. So same goes for family member details. So here in family member details, if you see, it is meant to include this other archetype called ehr.cluster person.v1. So if you go under the cluster and if you actually see this, you will then get more details on this. Okay, and you can. So I think if you're using the terminal, the openEHR template designer, you'll be able to easily understand how this works. So, but you'll be able to like just take one archetype and put it inside another archetype.
Got it. I'm getting it. Done. So this is about this. I'll also share another screen.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Okay. So able to see the screen?
Yeah.
So what I was trying to do is trying to compare our existing EMR with the parameters of openEHR.
Got it.
So that's something I was trying to do.
Okay.
So some cases I was directly able to search in the CKM and pull out the parameters.
Okay.
And some cases what I did is that I went to Google and searched like, for example, waist height ratio, archetype in openEHR, and I was able to locate it. But there was couple of scenarios where I couldn't locate. For example, these are fine, but I understand. But something like surgical history is something we wanted to capture. Like whether the patient had a heart surgery in 2019 or something like that, right? This is what is there in our current EMR. So I was trying to locate that, but I couldn't actually locate surgical history related archetype. Then I thought something like story history is archetype is something I can use. Something
Okay. Again, Yeah. So under story, if you see again under the story archetype, there is a slot that is given for you to capture other details of the story, for example, of the current story. Same way, there is a separate past history cluster which you can use to record something like past history of a disease or a surgery or something that happened in the past. So if I'm not wrong, I'm again going to the CKM. So past surgical history, you can easily record using one of these. Let me check actually. So
I tried to search past history, but I couldn't locate enough.
Yeah.
Is it say correct name?
Just give me a second. I'm just seeing if. Okay, past surgical history. Okay, what you want to do is you want to record that as a procedure.
Yeah, the procedure which has been done in the past.
Yes, you want to record that as a procedure which has been done in the past. And in fact, you can do that under the story also. So that again, it makes sure that you know that this was a procedure, but it actually happened under a story that the patient has been telling. So if you go to story and maybe show the screen, I'll tell you how you can probably do this.
Able to see.
Yeah. So story history, you have this structured detail under the story.
Okay, so this is a cluster.
Yes, this is a slot that is meant to include any other cluster. Okay. So you have things like health event. So you just take a look at health event, for example. So signs and symptoms is a very common thing that you usually record under this. So patient is telling you something and signs and symptoms is like what has happened for how long that you record. So just take a look at health event, for example.
Health event. So I have to search it.
Yeah.
So is this the one or?
It's health event. Yeah. So this is a slot. Details about a specific health related event. They have the event name, the time elapsed, the witness, did something happen in the past. So again, here they're very much focused on the actual clinical history right now, what is happening, not so much about the past procedure that has happened. But in your system, if it makes sense, I think you can just record your past history as a actual procedure that happened in the past.
Understood.
So if you like search procedure, for example, right?
Just a minute. Search.
Yeah.
This one, action. It's an action, right?
Yeah, the action that has happened. So you can just record that along with the state being procedure was performed, and say that the date was this particular date. And you can also
can we record the date? Okay, here the scheduled date or a final end date.
Final end date. Yeah. When was it actually done? Right.
Understood.
And if that is not enough, you also have the procedure details to record more detail about that particular procedure. Right.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay, got it. So it's again linked to another.
Yeah. You can do that. You can always keep linking, and you can do that if you want. So here the thing is, if you want to know the procedure that's been done to the patient, right? If you're searching all the procedures, like the doctor is searching today, I want to know all the procedure that has been done to this patient. It just makes sense to put both the past procedures that was recorded verbally by the patient and the procedures that you yourself did in your hospital, right? So both will come under the same section.
Understood.
Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, that's right. So I believe I had a couple of issues, but I believe that if I search well, then I might be able to get something.
Most of it, 80 to 90%, you will be able to get it. Those remaining 10% that are like very specific to your hospitals, you may need to either use a slot and put in another detail, or you can create your own archetype for those.
Got it.
All right, Shyam.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, perfect.
So, and one more point is that clinical findings.
Yeah.
So we have a section called clinical findings. Currently, we have kept something like a general examination and systematic examination.
Yeah.
But totally I was clueless with respect to this in the openEHR. So
Yeah.
since you are a clinical person, I think you will be able to tell me.
Right. I think clinically it's very easy to represent this. You can just represent it using sections, right?
Okay.
So there is a separate ad hoc section archetype that you can use, and you can name it to any section you want, and you can put other archetypes under that section, for example.
Okay.
So you can always do that. And the other thing is for respiratory system, CVS and all that, we use exam, the archetype named examination. Yeah. Examination of any site. So here you have that examination findings itself is a cluster. You don't want to see the cluster first. You see the archetype. That cluster is supposed to be slotted into the examination detail. So I'll just come down. So examination findings, that also I think it's you're still under a cluster. Just double click on that. So this is still a slot. You're still under a slot. So just come down. You need the actual archetype first. And under the archetype, you can then put in any slot that you want. So come down. You're still in the slot section. You're still in the cluster section. Yeah, come down. You want to check for observation. Physical examination findings. That's what you want.
Okay, this is the one.
Yes. So under this, they have a separate section for examination details. So most of the time, if you're just going to record text, it's fine to just put it under the description and have a separate, CVS and all that, and just rename the physical examination findings for that. Just make sure you put the correct body site for all of those. But you see that there is a details, examination details. So under that examination details, you can put in any of the, so many slots that you saw above, right? All of those clusters that you saw above for examination of different types of organs. So
that can be linked to this.
Yes, you can link that. So depending on whether you're examining a pupil or you're examining a breast or something, depending on that, you can slot in a different examination detail.
Got it.
Yeah. So Carlos, you're asking, could you share with us valid FHIR URI as exercise? Okay. Yeah, I think I will do that. I'll put in more information about this as well on the website. Yeah. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. So again, thanks for all joining, and hope you finish off the modules that you're currently on. So cool. That's fine. Anything else?
No, doctor. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
All right, Shyam. Okay, Carlos, Rath.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Thanks. Have
All
a nice
right.
weekend, everyone.
Yeah. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good to you too, doctor.